Okay, everyone, it's 2:05. We'll go ahead and start this question and answer session. Um, so I'm Jordan Hawkins. I'm the coordinator of Event and Media Services of the Office of Student Services at IAU. And I'll just take a second to remind everybody how this is going to work. I'm going to read previously submitted questions from our students, and I'll have the office responsible for that information to answer those questions. If you have any follow-up questions, please ask them in the group chat that you see on the right side of your screen. If there are no follow-up questions, then we'll move on to the next office. If you have any follow-up questions when all of the questions have been answered, after every office has answered the questions that we have on our list, then I'll open up the group chat for those who have any other questions, and I'll have each office answer those questions accordingly. So we can go ahead and begin. We're going to start with the Office of Admissions, and we have Andres Garcia here to answer your questions. Andres, thank you for turning your camera on. Are you ready to go?
Jordan?
Yes, I can hear you. You good? All right. So the first question we have for you is about upcoming intake admission criteria. I guess we have a student, looks like an incoming student named Mohammed. He's asking if you would be available for a Skype session to discuss upcoming intake admission criteria. Do you guys do that in the Office of Admissions?
Currently, we do phone appointments, but if they really want us to give them a Skype session, I would ask them to email admissions@iu.la, and then we can set that up on a one-on-one basis with the student. But if David can go ahead and provide the student here on the chat, if he could just take a look at our admissions portfolio webpage on our website, it lists with links all the requirements they would need. If they're F1, initial or non-F1, we have all the application materials needed for them up there. But if he really wants to have the Skype session, we will have to discuss that on a one-on-one basis so that we can set up the timing and everything for them. So just go ahead and if David could provide our office email of admissions@iu.la, feel free to send us an email. Just let us know that you want us to set up a Skype appointment with us, and we'll be more than happy to see what we can do for them.
Perfect. Thank you, Andres. Again, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to put those in the chat, and I'll get to those as soon as I see them. Let's move on to the next question. Next question is, looks like it's from another prospective student, possibly. It says, I would like to apply for your MBA program starting in January, and I would like to know how to apply.
So the application process is the same. If you could follow the link for that student, I don't know if they're in the video chat. The first things first is always to go ahead and submit your admissions portfolio and sign up for our open house orientation that's being done online. Um, if they are an initial student and they have any other further questions in regards to their visa interview or any of that sort, they can also go ahead into our website under F1 services, and then on there we have a whole visa interview links that they can use to prepare for that. Again, if you have more questions, always emailing our office so that we know exactly what they want. Especially as an initial student, sometimes our intakes are a little different. Like we're coming up with the deadline for the January intake. The deadline's December 20th, 2020. So we have here less than 20 days before the deadline's due. So if they have any further questions in regards to that, they can email our office. But always start off with submitting your admissions portfolio, at least part one of it, and then after that, we can go ahead and help out the student accordingly.
All right. Thank you, Andres. And yes, I see David's adding those links. Andres mentioned a few links that will help you throughout your process of applying to IAU, and David has placed those links in the chat. So let's go to the next question, also for admissions. Can I get a scholarship in DBA? Do we do scholarships for our DBA program or for any of our programs?
Well, for any of our programs, unfortunately, right now we are not doing any scholarships for any of our programs, but we are in the works of trying to figure something out for scholarship purposes for our students. Sometime coming up in the future. As of now, I would say no, but hang tight, and we're working towards providing some sort of service for our students.
Okay, yeah, that would be exciting if we can start doing some scholarships. Let's see. The next question for the Office of Admissions is about F1 visa and OPT availability. Can you expound upon some of those topics?
I'll start off with the F1 visa because that pertains more to our Office of Admissions. F1 visas are granted by an overseas embassy, so you don't apply for it through IAU. How IAU works in this process is that you apply to a program at IAU from our ASVA to our doctoral, and then when we go ahead and finish up your admissions portfolio, we're able to generate an I-20, which you then take the perspective takes to a visa interview that they have set up back home in their home country. As I mentioned, and David provided the links, the visa interview is an extensive ordeal where the student has to answer a variety of questions. And then we have, like I said, we have that resource right there if they want to go ahead and take a look at it to see any of the questions they ask for visa purposes. After that visa interview, that's when the student will either be accepted or denied to get an F1 visa. And at that point, they have to report to IEU and come to the United States so that they can begin their program with IEU. Anything related to like the visa policies or any of that ordeal, especially because of COVID, we are asking that they check in with your consulates or embassies overseas because I know certain countries have different policies. Some countries are closing down again and opening up, and COVID just threw the whole system around. So always check with your embassy and your local embassy first. And first of all, find out that they're actually issuing F1 visas because I know some embassies stopped doing that. But for sure, always checking in with your local embassy to see any regulations that may have changed because of COVID would be the first thing. And then to the second portion here talks about OPT availability. It's available once you graduate successfully from a program. Let's say you start our MBA program and then you finish and you're graduating successfully, then you will be able to apply for OPT. But more of OPT, this is more catered towards our career services team, and they can expand further on OPT and any of those deadlines and policies.
All right. Thank you. Very thorough. And again, Andres mentioned a couple links. Again, those links are in the side of the chat. I saw we had some students enter in the middle of his answer. So just so you guys know, the staff who will be answering questions today will be mentioning links, and David will be putting them. David from the Office of Student Services will be putting them in the chat on the side of the virtual room. Andres, it looks like that's about all the questions for the admissions office. If there are any follow-up questions, please put them in the chat now. I'll give you guys a second while I also mention that there were a couple questions for admissions, just about general, what are the admissions requirements. You can get all of that in the link that David put in the chat. It's iau.la/admissions portfolio. So for those people who just had the general question, what is required for admission, you can click that link and you'll see a list of all of the things that you'll need. All right, thank you, Andres. Stick around in case we get any more questions for you at the end of the presentation session. Thank you. Next up, we have the Office of Career Services. I believe our representative from that office is Martin Palacios. Martin, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you doing today, Jordan?
Pretty good. So let's go ahead and get into your questions. I don't see any questions left over in the chat for admissions. So let's roll right along into career services. The first question we have is, what is the deadline of applying for CPT in 2021 spring session 1?
So the deadline we have set up for that session specifically is January 22, 2021 on a Friday. But if there's an extension that you need in case because of COVID-19, we'll be willing to give an extension for that, all right?
All right. Sounds good. And is that, so that's different than the normal type of CPT deadline that we're doing, or is it?
Yes, no, it's different. So because COVID-19, I know it's pretty hard to find a job nowadays.
Right.
Especially trying to employers. So we're willing to be more flexible where our deadlines and get an extension to submit documents.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that for me. I was actually unaware of that as well. Thank you. So let's see. The next question. How do you recommend engaging in CPT during these crazy times that we're in?
So one thing to do is, for one, make sure to wear a mask and be precautionate. Also, you can see if your employer is willing to have you work remotely from home. That's a better way to be safe. But you can also work at a company at the physical location where the company is located. So there's some of the ways you can engage in CPT in these crazy times, okay? And if there's any concerns you have, always talk to your employers, see if there's any alternatives, and see where it goes from there.
All right. Thank you, Martine. And remember, attendees, feel free to ask your questions in the chat. So if you have any follow-up questions for these CPT topics, we can ask those to Martine right here. All right, so let's roll on to the next one. We got, I started my internship June 29th, 2020. Until when can I do my internship?
Okay, so to answer that question, I just want to say this. We have some good news for all of our students. So even so, for students who started from fall 2018 onwards, they're going to be able to engage in more than 12 months of CPT, unlimited full-time and part-time CPT. Because starting in 2021, our CPT policies are going to change. So just to summarize a couple of key points, F1 students will no longer be limited to 12 months of practical training per program. F1 students may engage in unlimited part-time or full-time CPT during the entire program. However, if you want to do full-time CPT, you can only do it during your non-mandatory terms. As for mandatory terms, you can only do part-time CPT. But the good news is you're no longer limited to 12 months of CPT like you were previously. So starting in 2021, there's going to be a new policy. And make sure to look out to check your emails, because we're going to send an email with all the information about that as well.
Great. Thank you for letting us in on that info in this question and answer session. And we will be sending that email out shortly. So keep an eye out for those CPT policies. I know that that information is pretty important to a lot of people who are fulfilling the internship requirement of their program. Okay, follow-up questions in the chat. I don't see any yet. So let's move along to the next question for career services. Let's see. After graduation, when can I start my OPT and how should I look for it, Martine?
So you can start your OPT 60 days after you have graduated from your program, okay? Now, in order to be able to even get OPT in the first place, you have to apply. My recommendation would be to apply for OPT 3 months or 90 days before your expected date of graduation, okay? And if you need any more information, I know that my colleague David has sent you guys a link to our career service inquiry form. So you can go ahead and fill out the form, ask us any questions about OPT in regards to how to apply, what documents are needed, so that we can follow up with you. But like I said, best thing to do is to apply for OPT 3 months or 90 days before you're expected to graduate, and you'll most likely be able to start OPT within 60 days after you've graduated.
All right, thank you. Yes, there's a lot of quirky, important things about those OPT applications. You got to get it in just right.
Yep,
okay.
The right time.
So let's see. I think that is all of the questions that we have on our spreadsheet for the Office of Career Services. And just like with the Office of Admissions, it looks like there are a couple general questions about how to apply for CPT, etc. David, could you, let's see, did you throw that up there? Just the Career Services webpage, iau.la/career services, I believe is what that is. Just go ahead and get that up there, how to apply for CPT. Thank you. Thank you, David. All right. So Martine, thanks a lot for representing the Office of Career Services. Stick around. We may have some additional questions for you in the chat after we wrap up all the offices.
Thank you, Jordan.
All right, moving on. Let's see, our next office is going to be the Office of Finance. So this question, we have a representative here to answer that, named Patrick Dergali. Patrick, let's see, I see your mic is on. So we only have one question for you today, and it is regarding tuition. It says, Will there be any chances of a discount of tuition during COVID-19? I know it can be financially hard for some people. What do you say, Patrick?
Thanks, Jordan. So at this time, we don't officially have any changes. However, like my colleague Andres said earlier, we are looking into scholarships and we might be able to provide financial aid in the future. At this time, what we can recommend is for students to contact us directly at finance.u.la. And if they're experiencing some sort of hardship, we might be able to work out an alternative payment arrangement. But yeah, other than that, we don't have any sort of discount or scholarship at this point in time.
All right, Patrick. Yeah, I do know a lot of things are on the horizon for IAU. We've been getting a lot of good news lately. So hopefully we'll be able to accommodate our students more and more as we continue to grow. Thank you for coming in for that question, Patrick. Again, stick around. If we have any more questions for the Office of Finance, I'll let you know if I see any pop up in the chat.
Thank you, Jordan.
All right, moving on. If there are no further questions for the Office of Finance, our next one is going to be the Office of Student Support. So our representative from that office is going to be Ellie Gonzalez. She is the recently appointed Associate Director of the Office of Student Support. How are you today, Ellie?
I'm great. Thank you, Jordan. How about you?
I'm fantastic. Let's get right into it if you're ready.
Yes.
Okay, first question. For the summer, can I take my last 2 courses to complete the Business Capsule 700 in order to graduate?
Yeah, so for that question, it is basically a case-by-case basis per student. We would have to check your program completion plan to see how you are doing with your academic progress towards fulfilling all of the requirements. So that question would be better left by emailing the Office of Student Support directly. And that email is studentsupport@iau.la, which David should be providing in the chat in a few moments. So please email us with your student ID, and then we can schedule an appointment with an advisor for your program so that they can go over all of the requirements for you to graduate.
Okay, Ellie. So I see that this same student had a follow-up question, which I believe you just answered as well. Can I have more explanation about what I should complete for graduation? That all of that will be addressed in what you were just referring to, correct?
Yes, that is correct. The final term registration appointment is specifically so that the student is aware of all final requirements that have yet to be completed and any other follow-up questions regarding graduation. We'll do a thorough run through of everything so that the students are aware of what to expect on their final term.
Perfect. And I'm not sure if the student who asked this has graduation on the horizon yet or not, but within the last year of your program, you'll start to receive emails from the Office of Student Services that will let you know all of the steps that you'll need to take and who you can speak to about what you need to do to graduate. So look out for those emails as well. They'll help you out with that process. All right, Ellie, let's move on to the next one. So this next one is an interesting one. It is, what is your vision for IAU's business accounting course?
Yes, so for that question, I believe if this is concerning a student who has an accounting concentration, just be aware that we are definitely working with the Office of Academic Affairs together so that we can schedule more accounting courses so that the student can complete their requirements specific to that concentration. Unfortunately, we don't offer too many accounting courses because that concentration was, we basically stopped offering it because it was not very popular in the past. So far, we only have 1 student with that concentration, but we are more than happy to help accommodate that student so they can complete all their requirements.
All right, and that student had a follow-up question. I'm not sure if you addressed it, maybe a little bit. He says, or they say, can I look forward to any certification in accounting?
So we do not have any certification at this time. However, the degree that student that I have in mind specifically, the accounting concentration will be noted on their diploma if all of the accounting concentration requirements are met at the time of graduation. But we do not have a certificate at this time.
All right. Thank you for the informative answer, Ellie. The next question is, it looks like a COVID-19 related question. So this is going to be important stuff. Let's listen to this one. How does IAU plan to adapt and maintain the safety of the IAU community, staff, faculty, and students when it's required to reopen for on-campus instruction?
Yes, very important question. And we just recently got some information about this. So this is a good time to update everyone in the IAU community. As of now, we are planning to still remain fully online instruction for all of our active continuing F1 students, meaning if you have been a student before 2020 and before, then you are allowed to take online courses, just as we've been doing since the summer and fall term. So everything will be remote. As of this time, we're not planning to reopen our campus for active ongoing students, but we are going to only have campus instruction available for new initial students or students who have changed their status. So we will be speaking with those students specifically about the safety guidelines, which include only having one student per classroom available so that we can maintain social distancing. And there's going to be remote learning involved with the professor lecturing from a remote location, broadcasting to our TV in our classroom. And as far as I'm aware, there's only going to be one student per classroom. And then we will be scheduling it accordingly again so that social distancing is maintained and so that not too many people are on campus all at once.
All right, Ellie, thank you again for all of the thorough information. There is a follow-up. Oh, actually, you answered that follow-up. Is there any limitation in the plan regarding the number of students attending a class? You addressed that, I believe. All right, let's go on the next one. Will Spring 1, 2020 be online or on campus? You answered that as well. That's going to be online. And what happens to students? Okay, yeah, this is an interesting one. As the IAU community should be aware by now, IAU has achieved accredited status. So this is a question about our accredited, the accredited status of our students. It says, yeah. What happens to us students graduating from an accredited school? Our credentials are good too, right?
So yes, accreditation offers a lot of benefits in terms of transferability of credits. And if you are interested in transferring to a different school, that would definitely help with that situation. The units can be transferable, but it does depend on the institution you are planning on transferring to. And it also depends on how many units were taken prior to accreditation. So yes, David provided in the chat the information to find out more about the accreditation and the approvals. Regarding that information, since we were accredited as of October 26, 2020, any units that were earned before that date are going to be deemed as unaccredited. However, if you have any questions, if you are in a situation where some of your units are before and some of your units are after, please feel free to email student support at iau.la. We can provide you a copy of your unofficial transcripts, or you can also email registrar at iau.la if you need to order official transcripts.
Perfect, Ellie. Thank you so much for all of that information. There is no follow-up to that question, and I don't see any more follow-up questions in the chat yet. If you have any follow-up questions for Ellie or the Office of Student Support, you can please post those in the chat now. Ellie, thank you again. And let's see, you can go ahead and turn your camera off if you like, and we can hang out and see if any questions are in the chat in the next couple moments or so. I would like to thank the students who showed up for coming. If you guys have any questions, now is the time to ask. Right there in that chat. Also, another thing I would like to take a moment to do, anyone who feels comfortable turning their cameras on for a little screenshot, that would be great too. Maybe we can do it for the gram. We can maybe anybody. Thank you. I see a couple of you now. Looking good. Any other takers? June, look who just showed up. June Pan. All right. Hi, June. Welcome, June. We actually just wrapped it up, but we will be sending an email recording within the next day or so. And look out for that. All right, so everybody, thank you for coming. Everybody want to wave, and I'll take a little screenshot. Oh wait, Martine, come back. Martine, all right, everybody, thank you so much. And there we go, perfect. I don't see any follow-up questions in the chat. Again, if you are an attendee and something pops up in your head that you wanted to ask that you forgot about, follow up with us, our contact page. David, can you put the contact link in the chat, and so they can get all of the email addresses in case they have any questions that pop up into their heads later. But if that's all we have for now, then we can take this time to conclude. Thanks to all the staff who came to answer the questions and represent their offices. You guys did a great job. Thanks again to the students for asking the questions and giving us this opportunity. Everybody have a great day, stay safe, and happy holidays.